Marietta. Today is February 24th, NA Day. Last Thursday on February 18th, 2021, the Perseverance spacecraft touched down on the surface of Mars. This new rover is equipped with the latest and greatest technology of our time to study the planet's surface. These are a few of the most interesting pictures from Perseverance. Now, let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. This is the point of the show where we would normally check in with Mr. Ball for some information on what is happening around school. Today, though, we are going to highlight someone who has made a lasting impact on thousands of Blue Devils. Lewis Walker was a teacher and administrator in Marietta from 1965 until 2006, and now his contribution is being commemorated in a very special way. Here is his story and a look at his legacy.
The steps that you're sitting on, you did not hesitate when you were asked to consider dedicating the steps to Mr. Lewis Walker. Now, others have been asked and they hesitated. What it is about you, why you didn't hesitate?
Leaders hesitate a lot, which is why we're not as far along as we should be. The time has already passed. The time in order to celebrate life while life is still with us, not waiting for someone to pass, not waiting for someone to not be celebrated while they're still here, to not enjoy, this beautiful place, to not take the opportunity without hesitation to celebrate a pioneer instead of waiting typically to celebrate that life after death. And I don't think that's the best for kids, especially when they don't necessarily have that mindset. They live for now. They live for, somebody that is in front of them, both physically and in terms of a memorial, and an honor or a shout out to them at these steps. I don't want to say it's a no-brainer because that sounds flippant, but there wasn't an ounce of my being where I wasn't like, yep, how do we get to yes? Let's make it happen. And I appreciate people bringing those ideas. Again, wasn't my idea. I was asked, and I think it was a very easy yes. A very, very, very easy yes.
And I will say that's probably one of the reasons, of many reasons, why you are now the principal of the year. The steps where you are sitting in front of are called the learning steps. And pretty soon, they will be called the Lewis C. Walker learning steps. How do you feel about that?
Whenever anybody give you an honor, you got to feel a little bit humble and always wonder if you are deserving. I guess I could look back at my life. At Marietta High School, I spent 40 years at Marietta High School, 41 years in Marietta City Schools. So I feel a bit humble.
It is our honor that you came to Marietta City Schools way back before I was even born. The first year was at the Lemon Street High School, if I'm correct.
August of 1965. This was my first job and remained my only job for the 41 years that we're talking about. And I ended up here because it would enable me to go see a young lady I was dating. That's how I got here. It paid less money than all the jobs I was offered, but I don't have no regrets for the decision I made.
Right above, all the way up to the top, it says be somebody. And I understand you have a connection to Ben T. Wilkins. What's that connection? Would you tell us?
Ben Wilkins was the head football coach, and one of his big things was for his kids and my kids was for them to focus on what they were going to do when they left high school. And he wanted them to be somebody because he knew where he had come from. That was a difficult situation, so he tried to instill into them to be somebody and to go out in the community and to go to school and to have career goals when they left high school.
So that be somebody.
Yes.
That's what he helped you to be.
Yes,
Be somebody.
to be somebody. In my uniqueness, he found the helping prospect of me. You know, I'm always a helper. I'm always like, I don't mind doing anything for anybody. He helped me find that in me.
What was the DCT program and what did you do in that program, and what was it all about at Marietta High School?
It was called the Diversified Career Training Program.
DCT was another way for students who were already credit-wise finished with school but had the opportunity to connect to society before they leave the school.
Have a list of jobs, and he'd be like, well, I have this job or this job. He would also set up the interviews and everything for you. And if you needed a way to the interview, he would make sure you got to the interview.
He was teaching us how to talk to people, how to interact, and how to dress, and how to do all of the things that we still need to do right now as I am an adult with a child.
I would leave school because I had a job through DCT, and I worked at the hospital. So I would leave and take the back roads and walk to the hospital from the high school. And some days, pouring down raining, have my little umbrella, who would come up but Mr. Walker? Mrs. Cooks, I know you're not in this rain, walking in this rain. And I'd be like, yes, sir. He said, you didn't have a ride? Well, Mr. Walker, you know, I'm from a pretty big family, so mom couldn't come and get me. And you know, my dad's working. Get in this car. It is too much rain for you to be walking.
We're here today to dedicate the learning steps to Mr. Lewis C. Walker, rename them. What does that mean to you?
I think it's long overdue. The recognition for the people of color in this community in Marietta City Schools. I think that Mr. Walker is very deserving of the recognition and the honor.
So in Marietta City Schools, there is a facility, and that is named for Ben T. Wilkins and Marion Woods, the Woods Wilkins Center. Mm-hmm. This would be the second naming in Marietta City Schools, to my knowledge, of a structure in recognition of one of our own African-American educators. What should the city of Marietta, how should they regard the steps that you're sitting on, being named after another educator, a third one?
They should recognize it as the jewel that it is, because these educators poured their life into the students of Marietta City. And what greater investment of your life is there than to invest in the future of the people of a city?
What class were you at Marietta High School?
1998.
Sounds like it was a fun year.
Yes. Great
So,
year.
how do you know Mr. Lewis Walker?
Whew. I just have to start off saying, I feel good. I feel, so good.
I feel
Fantastic. That is how he started our class every single day.
and you know, that caught on.
Yes, it did.
On. It went all the way down the hall. All the teachers were doing it.
Where did you come up with that? How did it come about?
You don't do well if you don't feel good about yourself.
If you don't have steps that echo what you believe in and what you commit to, something will distract you and you'll commit to something else. There's no such thing as the absence of commitment. There's no such thing as the absence of a value. It's just replaced. And if it's replaced with something that is detrimental, or if it's replaced with something that can cause a derelict in society, that's a huge problem. And as a school, our job, and as a community, our job, and hopefully as educators, our passion is to figure out how to put these in front of kids. So putting those behind them and putting this in front of them and using these front parts of the steps was crucial, I think, in making this building, this newer building, not only mirror who we are as a staff, but connect to the main building, then connect to what we're doing at Lemon Street. And is it not better to connect actually to a person like Mr. Walker? And all of it comes full circle. So I think humanizing that to a person who was a pioneer, who I can't imagine for a minute what that was like to go from Lemon Street to Marietta High School during the time in which our country and our city and our state were going through, with segregation to desegregation, with an era of Jim Crow and the civil rights movement. Again, as a student of history, people are like, if you could sit down and go in a time machine, where would you go? I would want to go to the civil rights movement. I would want to go to D-Day. I would want to go to the birth of Christ. I would want to go when the person first wrote words on a piece of paper, or recorded a piece of music, or came up with the best ways to use medicine. I mean, those things would be absolutely amazing to have, but we could do it here in the present because we don't have that science or that technology to go back into the future. So I think that's pretty impressive, and I think important for us to do. And again, without hesitation, it's the right thing to do for kids.
Years from now, students will be walking these steps, and on the wall right there will be a plaque with your name and the dedication of these steps, these learning steps. What's a message that you would hope that the students would receive?
I would hope that they some kind of way would be able to say he tried to help somebody in his lifetime, and that he gave guidance to those young folks that come through these halls for them to do something with their lives.
So this was very important to me, to be sure that this place, this space, and this time has your fingerprint on it. For many reasons, but one being that I know very personally about two men that I never met, Woods, Marion Woods, and Ben T. Wilkins, because that's where I first started here in Marietta City Schools, as you know. And those two men's names are on one space in Marietta. And now there's a third, which would be you. Your name would be on a space here, and rightfully so, in Marietta City Schools. And so I want to say to you, on behalf of everyone that you have ever touched, if they would allow me the honor to say to you, thank you. Thank you for helping so many people, students, colleagues, in the school system, outside the school system, in the community, in the church, and beyond, for giving us a bit of your essence so that we too can be fantastic.
Thank you. You're very kind. I tried to be a dedicated servant in terms of what I did in the school system. Anytime I was called on to come to Marietta High School facility, I went for whatever I had to do and for whatever was needed. And I thank you again. I'm very humble. Thank you. Thank you.
Today, our Be the Voice video tells us that we shouldn't be defined by the labels we are told to call ourselves by, but by who we are in our hearts. Let's listen.
I am not black. I mean, that's what the world calls me, but it's not me. I didn't come out of my mother's womb saying, "Hey everybody, I'm black." No, I was taught to be black, and you were taught to call me that, along with whatever you call yourself. It's just a label. See, from birth, the world force feeds us these labels, and eventually we all swallow them. We digest and accept the labels, never ever doubting them. But there's one problem. Labels are not you, and labels are not me. Labels are just labels. But who we truly are is not skin deep. See, when I drive my car, no one would ever confuse the car for me. Well, when I drive my body, why do you confuse me for my body? It's my body. Get it? Not me. Let me break it down. See, our bodies are just cars that we operate and drive around. The dealership we call society decided to label mine the black edition, yours the Irish or white edition. And with no money down, 0% APR, and no test drive, we were forced to own these cars for the rest of our lives. Forgive me, but I fail to see the logic or pride in defining myself or judging another by the cars we drive. Because who we truly are is found inside. Listen, I'm not here to tell you how science has concluded that genetically we're all mixed and race in the human species doesn't exist, or how every historian knows that race was invented in the 15th century to divide people from each other and it has worked perfectly. No, I'm not here to lecture. I just want to ask one question. Who would you be if the world never gave you a label? Never gave you a box to check? Would you be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern, Indian? No, we would be one. We would be together. No longer living in the era of calling human beings black people or white people. These labels that will forever blind us from seeing a person for who they are, but instead seeing them through the judgmental, prejudicial, artificial filters of who we think they are. And when you let an artificial label define yourself, then my friend, you have chosen smallness over greatness and minimized yourself, confined and divided yourself from others. And it is an undeniable fact that where there is division, there will be conflict, and conflict starts wars. Therefore, every war has started over labels. It's always us versus them. So the answer to war, racism, sexism, and every other ism is so simple that every politician has missed it. It's the labels. We must rip them off. Isn't it funny how no baby is born racist, yet every baby cries when they hear the cries of another? No matter the gender, culture, or color, proving that deep down we were meant to connect and care for each other. That is our mission, and that is not my opinion. That is the truth. In a world that has sold us fiction, please listen, labels only distort our vision, which is why half of those watching this will dismiss it or feel resistance and conflicted. But just remember, so did the caterpillar before it broke through its shell and became the magnificent butterfly. Well, these labels are our shells, and we must do the same thing so we can finally spread our wings. Human beings were not meant to be slapped with labels like groceries and supermarkets. DNA cannot be regulated by the FDA. We were meant to be free, and only until we remove them all and stop living and thinking so small will we be free to see ourselves and each other for who we truly are.
Have you ever excluded someone because of their skin color? Why? Has someone excluded you? If so, how did it make you feel? What can you do to prevent this from happening to other students at your school? Now, let's see what's going on around our campus and community with the announcements. Thespians. Theater tryouts will be virtual this year. Auditions will come in the form of video submissions. These submissions are due by Sunday, February 28th. That is Sunday night. Please visit bluedeviltheater.com. The link is shown on screen. Break a leg. Hello cheerleaders, don't forget, tryouts for the 2021 to 2022 season are coming up. For more information, scan the QR codes on screen. Not only that, Marietta is also in need of 2 new mascots. If you believe that that could be you, scan the QR code as well.
Good morning.
Well, that's all we have time for today. We had a lot of great information in today's show, and I think it's safe to say that we have a lot to be proud of at Marietta. But there is still so much left undone. Let's remember those Blue Devils who have come before and take the torch and move it forward. From Blue Devil News, I'm Mitchell Sheridan, and we hope you have a good morning, Marietta.